There are stories that history forgets, buried in old books, whispered in faded ink. But sometimes one drifts back to the surface. What if something truly strange washed ashore in 1803 Japan? A vessel with no sails, a woman with no name, a language no one could speak, and a box no one dared to open. Tonight on X-Site, we explore a tale so mysterious, so carefully recorded across centuries that even now, no one can agree where she came from or what she really was. Stay with us. What you're about to hear might challenge what you believe about time, memory, and the sea. She emerged slowly, not walking, but simply standing as if she had been waiting. She was young, no taller than 5 feet, with skin so pale it glowed under the clouded sun. Her hair, long, tangled, and a deep blood red, fell over her shoulders like flowing paint. The villagers stared in awe and fear. No one had seen a person like her before. She wore unfamiliar clothes made of soft, shiny fabric. Her eyes scanned the faces before her, calm and unreadable. She held tightly to a small wooden box about 2 feet long. She never let go, not once. When the village elder approached and spoke to her, she said nothing. When others tried, speaking in Japanese, in broken Dutch, even Portuguese, she replied in a language none of them had ever heard. Soft, flowing, almost like music, but full of sounds not made by any human tongue. Inside the vessel, they found containers of clean water, dried food, and most curiously, symbols carved into the walls. Circular, slanted marks that seemed to flow like ink frozen in time. Symbols no one could read, but all could feel were not random. This was no accident. She was sent, but by whom? The villagers gathered in fear and fascination. They spoke in hushed voices. Some believed she was a lost princess from the West, a noble soul cast into exile. Others believed she was a ghost, a spirit come from the sea, clutching the box that held her soul. Then the elder told an old tale. He remembered hearing long ago about a foreign woman who had refused an arranged marriage. Her lover was executed. She was sentenced to exile, placed into a sealed boat, and sent to drift forever. He looked at the woman, still silent, still holding her box, and wondered aloud. Could that box hold a severed head? Gasps filled the air. The villagers stepped back, but no one dared open it. In Japan, during the Edo period, the country was closed to outsiders. The Sakoku policy forbade contact with foreigners. Harboring a foreigner, even a lost one, could mean death for the entire village. As the woman sat silently on the shore, arms wrapped around her box, the villagers debated. To keep her was dangerous, but to cast her back into the sea felt cruel. One elder finally said, "If the sea has brought her here, perhaps it is the sea that must take her back." They named the vessel Utsuro Bune, the hollow ship. And at dusk, as the sky turned orange and the waves calmed, they pushed it gently back into the ocean. The woman did not resist. She sat unmoving as the tide carried her away. She did not wave, she did not cry, she simply vanished into the fog. Most legends fade like breath in winter. But the tale of the hollow ship did not vanish. It was written, carefully, clearly, into several historical manuscripts of the Edo period. The Oshuzaki, Ton Shostsu, Hairyuu Kishu. Different authors, different voices, but the same story. A strange, circular craft, a red-haired woman, a wooden box, an unknown language, and a quiet return to the sea. Illustrations from those manuscripts, found centuries later, show the ship. Round, windowed, crafted with metal and glass. No sails, no oars, no rudder. It looked nothing like any Japanese vessel, nothing like any known ship from Europe. But it did resemble something else. Something that would not be imagined until a century later. A flying saucer. Some scholars believed she was Russian. Her red hair, her clothes, her features, maybe she was from the north. Maybe her language was one never spoken in the East. One sailor, Diukelu, shipwrecked in Russia for 10 years, claimed to have seen women with similar looks, wearing fur-trimmed coats and writing with curved, flowing letters. Symbols, he said, looked like those inside the Utsuro Bune. But there's a problem. The writing inside the vessel matched no known Russian script. Not Cyrillic, not Latin, not Chinese, not Korean. No one could identify it, even now. Another theory drifted into myth. A 7th century tale spoke of a young girl found drifting in a round boat, claiming to be a Chinese princess. She married a local prince, and their son founded the noble Kono clan. Some say the story was fiction. Others found records, faded drawings of a girl with foreign features and a round craft much like the Utsuro Bune. If that happened 1,000 years before 1803, was this woman not the first? Was she the return or the continuation? There are things in this world that don't fit. The hollow ship did not belong to sea travel. No steering, no sail, no purpose made for ocean waves, and the woman inside did not belong to that time. She showed no fear, she ate no food. She moved only when necessary, as if waiting. For what? Some say she was a lost noble, others a time traveler. A few say she was not human. What if the vessel was not meant for the ocean at all? What if it had fallen? What if, before we had a name for such things, before the words flying saucer existed, one had already crashed, and the people of the past, not knowing how to describe it, simply called it a ship? Long after the vessel vanished into the sea, the villagers still whispered, not just about her appearance, but about how the world around her seemed to change when she was near. One fisherman swore that as he touched the smooth metal of the ship, he saw stars, not above but inside his mind. He described endless spirals of silver rotating in slow silence. He fell to the ground, weeping without knowing why. A child who stood closest to her said the woman's lips moved, yet no sound came. And still the child heard something, a memory that was not hers, of a blue sky that shimmered like glass and towers that floated in air. The child grew ill for 3 days, speaking only in words no one recognized. The wooden box she held, it was never opened, yet it changed things. Birds stopped singing when she passed. Dogs refused to bark. The tide itself, some claimed, slowed its rhythm when her shadow touched the shore. At night, the villagers dreamed the same dream, a great wheel turning in the sky made of glass and fire. At its center, a red-haired woman seated in stillness, watching. Not judging, not begging, simply remembering. 40 years later, in 1843, in a fishing village far north of Hariadori, a nearly identical object washed ashore. Same shape, same size, same metal and wood, empty. The villagers dragged it inland, confused and afraid. There was no woman inside this time. No food, no water, no box, but the carvings were still there. Only now they had multiplied, rows upon rows of symbols running in spirals across the walls. Like language growing, like thought evolving. A scholar traveled from Edo to see the vessel. He spent 3 nights inside it, studying the inscriptions. On the 4th morning, he was found on the sand, his eyes wide open, his hair turned completely white. He never spoke again. Some claimed the vessel was the same, that it had traveled not forward through water, but backward through time, that it had returned to a point long before 1803, or long after. When the villagers tried to burn the craft, the flames bent around it, refusing to touch the surface. Eventually, they buried it deep beneath the hills and built a shrine over the spot. The shrine still stands, but the earth beneath it is warm. Even in winter. In the decades that followed, scholars from many nations came across rubbings and sketches of the Utsuro Bune symbols. None could decipher them, but some noticed patterns that mirrored brainwave frequencies. Others found echoes of ancient Sanskrit, mixed with unknown scripts that did not belong to Earth's linguistic families. One linguist, after months of staring at the symbols, claimed the markings were not letters at all, but instructions. Not for humans, for machines. She said it was like reading code designed for a consciousness made of light, for something that did not think in lines or letters, but in shapes and resonance. She disappeared before her paper was published. Her final note read, "They are not writing, they are waking, the vessel is not a thing, it's a mind," and she was its voice. In 1989, deep-sea explorers off the coast of Ibaraki detected strange metallic echoes beneath the ocean floor. Far below natural rock layers, sonar returned a perfect circle, 18 feet wide, 11 feet tall, buried under centuries of silt. Divers reported feeling pressure in their heads, like being watched. One passed out completely and awoke hours later mumbling the word hollow in multiple languages he had never studied. They marked the site and left. 3 days later, the coordinates were wiped from the research logs. No one returned. But fishermen still say, on nights when the mist returns and the tide is quiet, a circular glow can be seen beneath the surface. Like an eye. Or a memory, waiting. More than 200 years have passed since the hollow ship appeared and vanished again. But its questions remain. Who built it? Where did she come from? And why does her story echo in forgotten shrines, buried sonar scans, and the dreams of those who still remember? Was she a woman, a warning, or something that does not belong to this world at all? We want to hear what you think. Was this a historical mystery or an encounter with the unknown? Let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoy these forgotten stories, don't forget to follow X-Site. Because some truths don't disappear. They drift, waiting to be seen again.